Recognize anti-Hindu hate and Hinduphobia, says the Hindu community in the United Kingdom, releasing what it's calling its first manifesto ahead of the July 4 general elections in the UK. The Hindu community has been alarmed by instances of attacks on Hindus and their places of worship, temples in the UK, and now wants candidates who are contesting these elections to acknowledge and respond to Hinduphobia. The manifesto seeks that parliamentary candidates recognize the anti-Hindu hate as a religious hate crime. The manifesto calls for leaders to work to prosecute and proscribe individuals and organizations that engage in Hinduphobia. The Hindu Manifesto for UK elections also calls for protection of Hindu places of worship. Temples have repeatedly been targeted in the United Kingdom, and especially in recent years. The manifesto also calls for access to fairer education, equal representation and opportunities for Hindus, streamlining immigration, and very interestingly, acknowledging and protecting the dharmic values. The Hindu community in the United Kingdom seeks to protect, promote and work for the progress of Hindu interests in the UK. The question is, will there be many takers for this? Incidentally, several religious groups have come up with their religion-specific manifestos or wish list, and several candidates are actually acknowledging them depending on the voter strength of the religious community. Now, when Rishi Sunak had taken over as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in 2022, a report in the Times described Hindus in the UK as smart, rich and very well behaved. England and Wales are home to approximately 1,983,000 Hindus. The British Hindus are seen as an immigration success story. 47% British Hindus live in London, accounting for about 5% of London's population. So are they rising against the systematic targeting of Hindus as they perceive it? Joining me on India First is Charlotte Littlewood, political commentator, journalist and former counter-terrorism, counter-extremism coordinator for the UK government. Charlotte, welcome on India First. Explain the need for a Hindu manifesto or vision document in the run-up to the July 4 elections.
Hi, Gaurav. Thank you for having me on. I think just to say I've had a key role in the development of the anti-Hindu hate definition, but not really this manifesto. I understand why there is a need for a manifesto at this present time. We have religious groups across the UK launching religious manifestos. We have a Sikh manifesto, we have a Muslim manifesto, and now we have a Hindu manifesto. And politicians are playing into religious bloc voting, which is then leading for more religious manifestos to be manifested. So I understand why the Hindu community has done this. Nonetheless, I'm particularly against religious manifestos. I do think we're a multicultural, multi-faith Britain, and we need to care about the individuals rather than community blocks. But the Hindu community really had to do the same as the other religious communities if it was to be able to play as an equal player, as it were, in the current elections. Unfortunately, this is just the way these elections are going.
Okay. Now, the East Midlands is home to about 10% of British Hindus. But it is in the Midlands that Hindus have also been targeted, not just as individuals, but also their places of worship, their temples. What is their key demand through this manifesto, Charlotte?
So they are looking at anti-Hindu hate, and it's really important to raise awareness of that in the UK. The Hindu community has faced anti-Hindu hate for years and it's gone unnoticed. There's been two particular reports that have been done by the Henry Jackson Society, for which I authored, one that looked at the Hindu-Muslim conflict in Leicester, where Hindus were targeted, and even the mainstream press saw this as Hindus actually attacking Muslims. Actually, it was Islamists targeting Hindus. It was the other way around, and that really raised a lot of issues and concerns in the UK for the Hindu community. We then looked at anti-Hindu hate in schools and found that Hindu children were facing targeted bullying in schools, beef being thrown at them. One child had to move school 3 times because of anti-Hindu bullying. So it's a real issue that is going unnoticed and unaddressed in the UK. So I understand the want to have a definition that can then be understood and raise awareness among local authorities and schools. Another thing that they are looking at is things that concern everybody, like the NHS. They're even looking at things like loneliness. They're looking at understanding that Hindus have a relationship with India on a spiritual level, not just on a political level, some just on a spiritual level. Because one of the issues in the UK is actually targeting Hindus because of conceptions around politics in India. So it's dealing with that myth and therefore better protecting Hindus in the UK.
Okay.
And there is a real risk here. We're seeing the rise of independents going forward for the elections this July, and one of them is an individual called Shakil Asfar in Birmingham, who was actually involved in the targeting of Hindus in Birmingham in 2022, a part of the protest against the Mandir there that saw the flag set on fire. This particular individual, who concerned himself mainly with Kashmir and anti-LGBT protests in the UK, is now running as an independent. So there is a lot of concern among the Hindu community, understandably. However, I do think the manifesto has gone a little bit far by talking about prescribing those that are engaging in anti-Hindu hate, as prescription really is just for terrorism.
Okay. British Hindus have been described, Charlotte, as smart, rich and very well behaved, but now they feel targeted. In the United Kingdom, how are candidates reacting to religion-specific manifestos, since followers of multiple religions, you spoke of followers of other religions who've also put forward their demands through their religious manifestos?
The Hindu community in the UK is very successful, very integrated, is doing well in business. The young people are doing well at school, going to university. However, the extent to which they are noticed for that, they would say themselves is not at the level to which they believe they should be. And they see other religious groups going more notice, getting more protection. And one of the key things raised in the manifesto is that a lot of money has gone to the protection of mosques, but not very much has gone to mandirs at all. And considering a lot of mandirs were attacked, especially in 2022, they feel like this is unjust. So this really is calling for an equality between themselves and other religious groups as well.
Okay. Charlotte Littlewood for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. We'll be tracking that story and seeing whether this Hindu manifesto has any impact whatsoever in these elections.